Good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm back with a video by myself. I decided to go ahead and hop on really quick before I settle back in for the evening. It is Sunday. It is May 22nd. And I just wanted to check in because it seemed like it's been a while since, there was a video that's been posted. And I've been really inner, really reflective, really wanted to be within myself, focusing on me. And I feel like it's a part of it is due to the Mercury retrograde that we just had, that now Mercury is back forward. So I really felt that energy, and I just really just felt the need to just chill and be within me, you know. But during that time period, I've been reading a lot, which I love to do. Especially back when I was a child, I always read, always was carrying some books. Back when I was little, I used to be big on doing accelerator reader. I don't know, some of you may remember accelerator reader, but there it's pretty much you read a book that's within each grade level. There's accelerator readers, and then you take a test on it after you read the book, whatever. And I will always be the one that would have like the highest amount of points, with the school or whatever like that, because I was like literally reading like two books a day, two novels a day. Like I wasn't playing no games. But so I've always loved books, and as you go through life, sometimes you get away from reading as many books. But I've really been making an effort to make sure that I, get my reading in it, because I feel like that's extremely important to, you know, have some, of course, to have mentors, and of course to, learn from others and interact with others, but also to read books for knowledge, because there's so much knowledge that you can get within books too. And also remembering to apply those things that you learn also. But I feel like with the full moon energy that we had, in Sagittarius, on the 21st, I feel like it makes sense why I was so into getting information, because Sagittarius represents higher education. So to me, that made sense, you know. But right now, I'm reading this book, which is Trust by Iyanla Vanzant. It's Mastering the Four Essentials: Trust in Self, Trust in God, Trust in Others, and Trust in Life. This is a really, really good book, and I'm so thankful that I have it. I got it, I want it, so I knew that it was meant for me to read, and it's very relevant for what's going on in my life. And one thing that I learned about reading this book is that, trust is not about people earning it, putting all your trust in someone. It's more so about you understanding that it's a state of being, and understanding that you don't put all your trust in someone, you just trust them. Because in each and every one of us, we are divine spirits, we are divine beings, and in each and one of us, there is a level of truth. And we may not operate always in the way that we are the way that we are genuinely are in the grand scheme of things, our true essence of who we are. We may not always reflect that because we are humans, but really there is, I guess this most simplified way to say it is that there is a good in each and every one of us, no matter what. And each and one of us, she explains in this book, deserves to be trusted, because we are all representation of the divine, which is a very powerful thing. And a lot of times we are reflecting when we interact with people. One thing I'm learning, when I interact with people, or I'm feeling something in regards to someone else, I'm feeling something I'm going through an experience with someone, it's just a reflection of who I am. That's all they're doing, is reflecting something within me that maybe I don't see, or maybe I don't get. It's a really deep thing, but it just this book really expand my mind. Reading her books, period, Iyanla's books, period, really expands your mind, and it makes me more connected to me and understand how powerful we are. Each and every one of us, we're so powerful, and everything that we need, we already have, and we have an abundant, limitless amount of resources. We just have to believe that. And yes, society will teach you that you need to look outside of yourself in order to be fulfilled, in order to get things done. But if you take the time to be still and to trust in those feelings that you feel, then you will be able to live life a little bit more abundantly. And that's one thing I'm learning. It's not about, you know, one thing I'm learning is to not have expectations, put unrealistic expectations on people. That's one thing that I'm learning from reading this book, is to not put unrealistic expectations of someone, because we are humans and we are going to sometimes do things that may not be in alignment to what is nature. That there's sometimes it's gonna happen. So instead of being mad at somebody for doing something that they told you they were going to do, accept not accept but no, trust that you're going to be okay. Trust that you're going to be okay with whatever happens. That if it's a traumatic or dramatic experience, just to trust that you're going to be okay, and that you're going to learn the lesson, that you're going to overcome that challenge, overcome that heartbreak, because through that process, you learn how to trust life. It's a really, excuse me, it's a really deep thing. It just opened my eyes, my perspective to a whole new thing, and it just makes more sense. That's all I can say. But I would recommend that for anyone to read. It definitely is an eye opener, and it's a great book. A great book. But I've also, before I read Trust, I read this book by her, which is Tapping the Power Within. I believe I talked about this in a previous video, but I've been reading her books and then Robert Kiyosaki's books at the same time. And one thing that I noticed is that they had common themes. So that was another reminder that no matter what, everything is connected to spirituality, you know. And everybody may have their opinions or their perspectives about spirituality, and some people may not even believe that there's spirit or God or whatever, and that's fine. But for me, it just makes sense. They had both had common themes. When I was reading this book, and then there's another book that I was reading that I don't have right here, but it's in the house, called Before You Quit Your Job. 10 things, I think it said 10 things that all entrepreneurs should know. But it was real deep. Pretty much the common theme that Robert Kiyosaki had in that book was to believe in yourself, to trust in yourself, and to not beat yourself up for making a mistake, to learn from that mistake, to face failures, and to not really look at them as failures. Look at it as a way to create a solution, and how you can monetize from that, from the business aspect or whatever. But the common theme was trust to me. Both of them said, I remember Iyanla said in her book, she said, allow yourself to make a mistake. Because, if you think about it, I know, when I think about how I grew up in school, they teach you how to, I'm talking from my perspective. You kind of learn to not make mistakes, to be like the great student, to be the good student that makes the good grades, and to not make a mistake, But if you really want to step out on faith, of course nobody wants to lose a whole bunch of money, or to lose a whole bunch of, or just to make, nobody wants to make mistakes on a regular basis, of course, because that can be expensive. Let's just put it like that, okay? But at the same time, it's okay, because through those, anytime you've had any kind of challenge in life, didn't you learn something from it? I know I did, and it was very valuable, and I ended up being very thankful for it, because I knew what to do next time. I knew how to utilize that last experience for the new experience. So that's the point they're making. It's okay to trust the process of what you're going through, to trust yourself enough to know that you can follow your heart, to be, have a little bit of logic in there, but you can do whatever you put your mind to. You just have to believe in yourself, you know, and it's real deep, you know. Right now, I'm reading Trust, like I said before, and I'm also reading Rich Dad's Conspiracy of the Rich, which is a very interesting book, and I encourage people to read that book. But what's funny about this book is that I was reading the chapters, of course, and I was reading a chapter 6 of where we are today as far as American economy. But this book was like back in 2009. But it's so funny how a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, that Robert Kiyosaki talked about in his book, um, came true, or things that he discussed that happened, that people predicted back in the day, that came to come true. And he references Dr. Buckminster Fuller. Some people may know who this person is. I really didn't know about him until I started reading this book, but he makes a lot of references to this man, who seems like he was he was before his time, and he seemed like he was very connected to spirit in some way, because just the way he talked. But in this book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about how he has gone to see Dr. Fuller speak, and he's read his books. And in one of them, he talks about how when he went to he went to one of his lectures in the 80s, and he said that Dr. Fuller said that we are entering the world of the invisible. He said, when you lie on your back and look up at the clouds, you do not see the clouds moving. Only after closing your eyes for a while and then looking up again, you notice the change. And then he was talking about how Dr. Fuller was concerned, and his message pretty much was saying that millions of people will be out of work due to technology and inventions that operate well outside of their vision. And I was just like, that's so deep, because if you think about it, we are very powerful. Our minds are very powerful, and we do have the ability to really tap into to be able to see things beyond your eyes. You can look at your third eye, and I just thought that was just very interesting, especially since all of this that I'm talking about was on page 111, and 111 is an angel number. It's an angel number, and whenever I see angel numbers like 111, 444, 555, 666, things like that, I know that is a communication from the angels giving me a message. Whenever I see 111 or 1111, I know that it's time for me to monitor my thoughts, because things can manifest at a quick speed. But another thing that I highlighted here was the world of the internet is invisible, and we have to see it in our minds, because things are constantly changing, and it just makes sense. It's just a reminder that we can't get away from who we truly are, and that we are all connected to each other, and that we are very powerful within, and we can use that energy within to do so many things. We just have to believe in it. And it's just interesting that he said that people will be put out of work by technology and inventions that operated well outside of their vision. Outside of their vision. But I'm like, outside of the vision of the actual eyes, maybe, but not if you're really connected to the divine source that's within you. Then you know that you can be able to visualize things before it even happens. Sometimes, like, you know that. So a lot of people know that. And if you don't, just know that you can. Trust and believe that. And there was something else that stood out to me in this chapter, that Dr. Kiyosaki, not Dr. that's Dr. Fuller, Robert Kiyosaki says. He says, as the information age grows, no longer will the rich and powerful nations have a monopoly on the world's true natural resource, our minds. In the invisible world of the internet, the geniuses of the world will be unleashed, and class lines that are centuries old will be erased. I thought that was interesting too, because that is your the world's true natural resource, our minds. That's deep. I don't know. I'm just like, wow. And I just thought it was just so cool that this book, this page that I was talking about was page 111 or whatever. I noticed it when I turned it on that page when I was reading. I was like, oh, 111. But then after I was reading, I was like, man, this is deep. And then I looked again. I was like, no wonder this page was 111. But so to me, this was just further confirmation that that the things that I'm feeling and that the things that I'm going to be doing in the future is in alignment to my true purpose, and that it's important to follow that your feelings and your intuition, but to also be a little logical when it comes to things, but tapping into your the power within you, that is so important. And that goes to the next book that I just purchased yesterday, The Sacred Contracts, Awakening Your Divine Potential. Now, I haven't ever heard of this book before. I was just drawn to it by the title. But the author is Caroline Myss. I'm thinking that's how she spelled her last name. But she's the best-selling author of Anatomy of the Spirit. But I just think it's this book, based off of what I've kind of scanned through. The Sacred Contracts is pretty much what your what you were brought here to do. Like, your sacred contract was created before you were on Earth, before you were before you were physical. Let's put it like that. That's pretty much what I'm understanding. But I'll go more into detail when I actually start reading it. Honestly, I was skimming through it, and a lot of what I was skimming through just seemed like something I would like. So I went on ahead and got it. So I'm looking forward to reading this book too. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to just catch up and let you know what I've been doing. Really, I just been really, keeping to myself and reading a lot, pretty much. And really just, you know, really connecting with my inner, the sources, with the inner power and the sources within me. Because we are so powerful. It's just so amazing how, you know, sometimes, you may have feelings of doubt or fear or whatever like that, whatever it may be, that's not in balance to where you want to be, which is love and peace and being self-assured and being courageous or whatever. That's what I prefer. But there, we all have those moments. So I've been realizing to bring it back is by really communing with myself, communing with the spirit, and really just going within. And you realize that when you start doing that on a regular basis, and how you create an intimate relationship with yourself and an intimate relationship with the divine spirit, which is you, it's within you. Then you start realizing I start realizing how powerful I am, and how you can talk yourself through the reasons why you may be feeling the way you're feeling at that moment, and how you can bring that power back, within, bring that power that's already within you, bring it to the surface, and to remind you that, you can do anything you put your mind to, and to not let those feelings of doubt and fear trickle in. And it's all about just creating a relationship with yourself. It's just real deep for me. So I really been seeing how powerful that is, um, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Also, it's almost summertime. It doesn't feel like summer up here, but it's almost summer, um, in June. And normally, what I do is anytime it's a change of the seasons, whether it be the winter solstice or the spring equinox, all anything coming up to that, I always do a fast. So normally, the the first full week, that's when I normally start my fast. So that's when I'm starting a liquid fast where I'm mainly just drinking juices. It's raw juices, smoothies, you know, soups that are raw, whatever. It's in liquid form, water, coconut water, all of that for 3 weeks. It's like a good reset button, and I always learn something from, fasting. I just think it's just something that is very beneficial for each and every one of us to do. It kind of centers you, it centers you. But I'm gonna talk more about that in a different video. But I just wanted to let you know that I will be documenting that like I normally do. I have other videos if you want to see that of me doing fasting during that time period. So yeah, I'm gonna do a separate video on that because not in maybe, is it like 2 weeks? I believe in a couple of weeks that's when I start. Um, but that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow us on Facebook at Infinite Nature with a capital capital I, Infinite. I think I spelled that right. Infinite Nature. I'm sorry, it's getting late. You can spell Infinite Nature. Infinite Nature with a capital I. Okay. Uh, Also on Tumblr, Infinite Nature, all one word. Also on you can follow me on Instagram at Neptune Mind. It's the same thing. I can normally post the same thing on the Infinite Nature that I do on Neptune Mind. And also on Twitter, same thing, Neptune Mind. And also follow us on YouTube at Infinite Nature. But talk to you guys later. Have a great evening.